Good morning, traders. Today is March 26th. As we reach the middle of the week, the US dollar remains very steady. Oil prices are reacting to fresh tariff news, and gold is facing a slight pullback after last week's high. The Australian dollar continues to find support from China's stimulus. So let's take a look at today's key market drivers. So first, let's talk about the dollar index. Fundamentally, the dollar index has risen slightly, hitting a three-week high due to the strong US service data and easing tariff concerns. President Trump's comment about the potential tariff exemptions providing optimism. For most of this year, the dollar has been pressured by uncertainties about the trade policies, but recent data shows a shift in the sentiment. Speculators have turned net bearish on the dollar for the first time since October, but the future direction remains uncertain, largely depending on Trump's tariff policies and the global growth. Technically, the dollar index is in a 4-day winning streak. The RSI is gradually rising, signaling a potential continued strength, and resistance is at 104.63, with a break signaling a move towards 105. Support levels are found at 103.78, with further downside will target at 103.2 and 103. Next, let's talk about crude oil. The price has risen, supported by the geopolitical tensions, particularly in the Middle East and US tariffs on the Venezuelan oil. Additionally, fears of supply disruptions from the OPEC policies and Russia-Ukraine talks weighed on the market. The market sentiment is driven by a balance of potential supply shortage versus increasing geopolitical risk. And technically, WTI prices are testing $70 mark, with short-term fluctuation expected between 65 and 70. The RSI is rising, indicating a potential bullish continuation if prices hold above $65. Resistance at $70 is crucial. If broken, 72.51 is the next target. Support sits at 67.07 and further at 65.05. Then let's talk about gold. Gold remains relatively strong, supported by the global risk sentiment and the expectations of the Fed resuming the rate cuts. However, the rebound of the dollar has put some pressure on the gold price. And also, market participants are cautiously awaiting further US economic data, which could create some short term trading opportunities. Technically, gold prices are struggling to stay above the $3,000 level, with the RSI indicating bearish momentum. If the 3,000 support is broken, we could see further downside to 2982 and 2945. However, if gold holds above 3,000, the next resistance is 3033, with a potential rally towards the year's high at 3057. Last, let's talk about the Aussie dollar. Fundamentally, the Australian dollar is finding support after the Australian government's budget announcement and expectations of the Chinese stimulus measures. However, caution prevails ahead of President Trump's tariff announcement. The Aussie remains sensitive to trade relations with China, with a focus on upcoming economic developments. And technically, the Aussie dollar pair faced resistance at 0.633, with a 100-day moving average acting as a key ceiling. The MAC shows a bearish signal, suggesting limiting upside momentum. Key support lies at 0.6258 and with further downside risk if this level is breached. A break above 0.633 could open the door to 0.6363 or 0.64. That wraps up today's morning market outlook. We see mixed sentiments across these assets. The dollar index and crude oil are showing signs of strength, while gold and Aussie dollar face some headwinds. Keep an eye on the geopolitical events and economic data that will be key to shaping the market direction in the short term. And thank you for watching.